For whips, obviously, once you get good at the finger rolls, all you have to do from there is twist it. So it's still one complete finger roll, but you're completely changing whether your palm is down or up. And definitely don't slack off with your elbows. Like, you don't necessarily have to bring them all the way up or make any huge movements, but don't inhibit your elbow, because that isn't as good a whip. It's not natural feeling. There's nothing fun about doing that. And if you can do it both at the same time, it's just hand over hand or hand under hand. And if you get really familiar with that, it's easier to do all of the other transitions that I'm going to show you. So if you get really good at hand over hand, you can slow down this whip, whip through it again, and then still continue the whip. So it's just in, and you can do it both directions. I'm not as familiar with this one, honestly, but you can. You can come through, and once you get good at reverse whips, you can start combining them. So like both hands do the same whip, and they break off and do separate whips, and then together, separate, together, and definitely move your hands around so you can have them both together. Maybe switch sides, out, on top of the other. If you want to incorporate flails into that, you can come together, flail together, which makes it look a little bit more rushed or faster. You can do both at the same time, but not connecting, so they just kind of come together in the middle. And then if you want to continue that, instead of just bouncing back and forth, you let your hands go past each other, and then past, and then back out. And then at any point in that, you can stall out one hand and then move your hands in sort of a split time motion and add on to a bunch of other whip combos. You can come back through and do a reverse whip up into your other hand, connect your index fingers, connect your pinkies, and then come out. So it ends up being like you're throwing the whip and then bringing it back. And it makes almost like a figure eight if you take a picture of it, but not quite. And then the hand in the back is just doing a finger roll. And the hand in the front is just one whip continuously. And it's a really intense move, because it makes a small circle here and then a much bigger circle here, if you do it right. You can come back out, sort of stop it, and then bring it back with your other hand. You can... Blitzen did a tutorial on this one, but the hand in the back is just making continuous flail, and then the hand in the front is drawing a figure eight in the air, but it intersects the flail and makes it look like an alternative version of you throwing the whip out at the person. And I mean, you can bring that one hand forward and then this hand forward, back, back. But a lot of beginners use this as a wow move, and it is at first, but after a while it gets kind of disenchanting. One of my all-time personal favorites is this, which is extremely mesmerizing, at least for me. But all it is if you have your hands sideways, it's just up, up, down, down, up, up, down, down. And then once you get good at that, you just put one hand in front of the other, and then try and smooth out the time between them as much as possible. And you have that. And you can continue the front hand to make it a flail, and then potentially switch it. But that is entirely up to you. Really cool ways to combine those is you can also do other hand replacement whips with it, so you can like whip in, connect it, and then move your hand out. And so all you're doing is connecting the pinky and then finishing the whip as the other hand moves out. You can do the same thing up. You can go up your arms. You can go under your arms. And then the coolest things that you can do is just change up which one you're doing. So you can go up, under, over, out, and then together even. And the more variety you have in a shorter amount of time, in my opinion, the more interesting it gets. Because I mean, if you up, 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 now under, it becomes very predictable, at least in terms of what you're going to do after the first one. But you can also incorporate the circle move into it, becoming like out, in, circle move, up, in, down, out, together, out, over, whip, 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 whip. And so by playing around with all the different combinations and doing things at different times, it ends up being much better to look at and at least more interesting. As far as flails go, if you ever have your hands here, one of the most popular ones is to come out and then up, which is perfectly fine. You can even just go back and forth, but don't do that for too long. And then if you get good at that, all you have to do with the hand in the back is go out and then separate, in. And what that does is, if you can do it back and forth, creates 3 distinct circles, and you can do that infinitely. And then if you want to, you can incorporate that into the combo earlier and just start waving it over and then back. From there, if you do come out, you can do a flail around and then like stop it, and then small circle, big circle, small circle, stop, small, big, small, stop, and then in. And then if you can do this like I was talking about earlier, what you can also do with that is make it into a triquetra by having the first hand do the 3 distinct circles, and then the second hand doing the same motion as before, but only going over twice. So on that half it's going onto the bottom, and on that half it's going onto the top. So going onto the bottom, top. I might have messed up which side was which, but just makes the triquetra, and then you can end that at any time by coming down with it. But hopefully that helped at least a little bit, and if anything needs to be clarified, just let me know.